and welcome to Coding for FTC. We're going to cover data and data types today. We're going to go over what variables are, what type of variables there are, and about scopes. Also, we've crammed operators into this video. We are going to go over math operators, assignment operators, conditional operators, and logical operators. Variables are a location in memory where information is stored. In Java, we have to specify what information is stored in these variables. For example, we might want to store a number in a variable, or maybe a set of characters. There are things such as ints and strings, which you're going to learn about. And those types of data are called built-in data types, and are also called primitive data types. There are 8 primitive data types in Java. The first one is the byte data type. Byte data type is for numbers. It ranges from -128 to 127, so it has a very limited range. It's not used very often in FTC, but it's still good to know. The next data type is the character data type, char. It is for holding a single Unicode character, which means it can hold values like A, B, or C. Next is the short data type. The short data type is for storing smaller integers, but things that are bigger than byte. And it is almost never used in FTC. Next is the int data type. This is an abbreviation for integer, and you can use it almost anywhere. It is for numbers with no decimals. But int has a fairly limited range from positive 2147483647 to the negative value. While this may seem like a big number, there are times when you're going to run out of storing space. Because of that, there's another data type called the long data type. The long data type has a very large storing space. So you can think of this as just having infinite storage space. The next data type is the float data type. Float data type is also for storing numbers, but it's a little different. Float data types and double data types has the potential and the capacity to store numbers that have decimal digits in them, like the 10th digit or the 10th value or the 100th value. Double is larger than float, so when you're concerned with running out of storage space, you can use the double. Boolean is a unique data type, and it's for storing true or false values. And it contains one or the other of these values and nothing else. This is an example code where data types and variables are defined. Here you can see int team number equals this number. Another way below is double motor speed equals 0.5. Next one, Boolean touch sensor pressed equals true, is also declaring a variable. Team number is an integer value, while double motor speed is a floating number value. That's why you can see the 0.5 here. And Boolean touch sensor pressed is a true value, is either a true value or false value, and it's defined as a true value here. To define variables, you have to first call the data types, then the numbers, and then equals the value. You may not have heard of scopes before, and it may not seem important, but you'll see why this matters later. A variable is only usable within its own scope, and a scope is from where it is declared until the end of the block it's defined within. Remember that I told you these curly braces are a code block? So if I define y as int4 here, I would not be able to use y outside of these brackets, these braces. You should keep in mind, and if a y is defined outside this box, then the y here and inside the code block will be different. Now we're going to go over operators. There are some operators in Java, and they are assignment operators, addition operators, subtraction or negative operators, multiplication operators, division operator, and modulo operator, and the basic parentheses operator. I assume you know what parentheses operator means. It just means to do this first, whatever is inside the parentheses. The addition operator, subtraction or negative operator, multiplication operator, and division operators are all the things that actually does addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I think you would have learned this in math class. But the equal sign here is quite different from the normal math that you've learned in school. The assignment operator is for assigning a specific value to a variable. It is different from the equal sign that we normally use to compare things. Are these two things equal? It is important not to get confused with these two things, and we'll learn the equality operator later on. The modulo operator is also something you might have never seen before. The modulo operator gives the remainder. For example, 6 modulo 4 gives the value 2. I told you that the assignment operator, the equal sign, was used to assign a specific value to a variable. Now, there are a lot of times when you have to assign a value to a variable, and since programmers do not like repeating stuff over and over again, we decided to make it shorter. The first example is the plus equal sign. It adds, then assigns. What it basically does is when you press x plus equals 1, it basically means x equals x plus 1. When x plus equals 3, it just means x equals x plus 3. So if the initial value of x was 2, for example, and x plus equals 3, the next x value will be 5. The next example is the subtract and assign operator. It basically does the same thing as add and assign operator, except it just subtracts, then assigns. The same applies to the multiplication assignment operator and the divide and assign operator. The modulo and assign operator also does the basic thing. Another thing is the plus operator. This does not have the equal sign, and while it is a bit like the plus equals operator, it only adds 1 to the value. It's called an increment operator, and x plus plus is the same thing as x equals x plus 1, or x plus equals 1. Decrement operators can be also used, and x minus minus is x equals x minus 1, or x minus equals 1. Next comes conditional operators. Conditional operators are usually in this format: x1 operator and then x2. And this whole expression gives you the value of true or false, a Boolean value. Equals equals is the thing I was talking about, the equality operator. It is very different from the single equals operator, which is the assignment operator. While the assignment operator assigns a value to a variable, the double equal sign, the equality operator, just compares these two values, see if they're equal to each other. If there's an expression like 3 equals 5, the whole value of this expression would be a false value. Next is the exclamation mark equal sign, and this just basically means something is not equal to. The exclamation mark here means not. So if this was a exclamation mark instead of an equal sign, the expression here would give you the true value. Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to are all things that also compare two values to each other and gives you the true or false value depending on the situation. Logical operators are for comparing two Boolean values. The format is x1 and then operator, then x2, the value. So if x1 and x2 values are both false, and if you're using the logical operator AND here, it give the value false. But if one of them is true or both of them is true, the logical AND would give you a true value. So the whole expression would become the value true. That is not the case for the logical operator OR though. The OR operator is for seeing whether there's any false values in this expression. So if one of them is false or both of them is false, it gives the value false. And if both of the values is true, it gives the value true. The logical operator NOT is just for one value. It is expressed as exclamation mark and then a value. So if a value is true and there's a logical NOT in front of it, then the whole expression becomes false, and vice versa. The logical XOR is another one, and it's just put there for the sake of completeness, and it's not very important. Try searching it up if you're interested in it.